Welcome. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Jayhouse. Welcome to the After Hours podcast. We are live from the Buddies Playroom, live with my buddy Asher. Say hey, Asher. Live, getting it in where we can.
Don't forget to screen.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Let me go ahead and throw that down there. Don't forget to subscribe. Welcome to the show. Hope everyone's doing good. Shout out to everyone on X, YouTube. Shout out to all you guys. And we are live.
Hey everybody.
Asher says hi.
Welcome to Jayhouse.
Yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Today is my birthday.
It is not your birthday. It is not. You still got another month to go. It is not your birthday. No, it's not. Don't do that.
Welcome to Jayhouse.
It's not your birthday yet.
Why?
Because it's not. It's not your birthday yet. You gotta wait. It's not your birthday. Nowhere near your birthday.
Hey. I love y'all. Bye.
Asher says he loves you guys. All right, go play. Thank you. But shout out to everyone out there. I hope everyone's doing good. Waiting on Knight Lucas, the OG, one of my OGs, to come on in. Shout out to Evan. Evan won't be with us on tonight's live.
Hey.
He'll be joining us later on. All right, Asher. They know. They know. Yeah, he'll be joining us on the next live. So to talk Joker, which is what we're on tonight. A lot to get into tonight with Joker. Folly Ado. Yes, he's a bad guy, buddy. He's a bad guy. Yep, every time. But yeah, so Joker Folly Ado did not go exactly the way DC and Todd Phillips thought that it would, and rightfully so. There are a number of reasons why that was, and tonight we're going to get into them. I don't really place much emphasis on everything else. I don't place much emphasis on Rotten Tomatoes a lot, but sometimes they're right. Sometimes the audience score, which is a lot of what I look for too, sometimes can speak for itself. So I mean, the audience score isn't wrong in this regard. Honestly, we look at it 32% from the critics and 32% from the audience. So that is pretty dead on. That's pretty much audiences and critics agreeing that Joker Folly Ado just wasn't where it was. And that's not where it's at. So, and I hate it has to be that way, but they didn't have to necessarily take it in the direction that they took it. So when we look at Joker, right? We look at the first one that came out. The first one I thought was iconic. The first one was pretty darn good. I thought that it was one of the best things DC's ever made. 89% by the audience, 68% by the critics. So that's not too shabby, honestly. And when we look at the comics, like let's say we look at what's a great example? Let's say we look at Killing Joke. You know, we can look at Killing Joke and look at some of these images and pretty much get this origin, you know, which the story was about him going mad. You know, it was about his failed career as a comedian and and things just got worse from there, and he terrorizes. So you do get a little bit of a backstory for him into that dive of madness before we get to where we get to. But you're not gonna get any of that. You don't get any of that with Joker Folia do. That's not what you're gonna get. It's a totally different case from the comics. In name only is the essence of this second one, and it leads nowhere to this comic book version of what people think or where it was supposed to go. So that's where we're at right now, and that's pretty much what it is. Joining me is the OG. Uh oh, buddy, don't do that. Joining me is Knight Lucas, filmmaker, martial artist, geek, like myself, minus the martial artist.
You've never done martial arts before, Jay?
I don't know. It just said it in your bio, so I assumed. I'm like, okay, martial artist.
No, 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 no. I've done martial arts before. I was asking if you've done it before.
Hey.
Oh no, never, never.
Hi.
Oh, you
All
should
right,
try
then.
it. It's very fun experience. Even if you're one of those guys that thinks you can't defend yourself with it, because there are people like that, I think you'll still have fun doing it.
One day, I plan on trying it.
Cool.
One day.
Yeah.
But man, welcome back. And what did I know I've first of all I got to get this off my chest because I delete after I had that talk with you. We'll get into Joker in a little bit, but after I had that talk with you concerning uh, Star Wars, after I joined that live, I deleted my video that I made that day because I didn't want to give any more attention to what they were doing. I didn't want to give any more attention to Disney and Disney Star Wars, so to speak. So for me, that was the line. That was the line that I drew
Uh,
right there. So I did tell you I was writing a fan fiction. I am writing some stories that I've had sort of reimaginings of the sequel trilogy, so to speak, more so than original stories. They're more so just reimaginings of how I would have wrote it in a story form. So I think that's about as good as it's gonna get because the sequels will never be redone. They can't redo them. So
yeah. I mean, I don't think they can never be redone. I don't think they can never be redone. But Disney redoing them, I see that as a definite no. I don't see Disney doing it. Like if a fan like me or you made literal movies, because there are people that work on projects on what if the sequel trilogy was different. I've even seen some people
yeah,
like do some animated EU books in like there's a whole playlist of Heir to the Empire in cartoon form or in Dark Empire too.
yeah,
So
I've seen
yeah,
that.
like
Yeah,
heck, I plan to take. I've told you this before, but I plan to take George Lucas's sequel trilogy treatments and try to make films of my own based on that, because
yeah,
that's what I really wanted to see. Not what Disney did, but it's fine.
yeah. I feel you. So you're a comic fan just like me, and you take great pride in what goes down, what's being presented, and source material. Henceforth, why I call you the lore master. So when you watched Joker Folia do, what were your thoughts as it compared to the first one? And was that the best direction for Todd Phillips to take that character?
I don't know about the best direction. I mean, I gave it a 7.8 out of 10 when I saw it, so I liked it. Actually, it's objectively it's questionable, but yeah, I like the film.
Yeah,
You know what it reminds me of? The Three Joker storyline, where
yeah,
different eras of DC, there was a retcon that three people were Joker, and instead of one person, three people donned the makeup, and Batman's been fighting multiple people that have become Joker. And it's the
Yeah.
idea that Joker is more than a person. Joker is a symbol of chaos. And I think it was
Right.
Gotham season two.
Hmm.
Basically, Joker Jerome Valeska in the show Gotham season two. Jerome Valeska, he was apparently the proto Joker in that show, and he died. But his
Yeah.
death like drove. It was a symbol, and it drove it drove all of Gotham into madness. Inspired a bunch of people to act like the Joker, and his brother Jeremiah became
Hmm.
the actual Joker. So,
Yeah.
if even though some people would argue, I disagree. Even though some people argue Joker two is different from source material, I'd say Joker two does, whether Todd Phillips intended or not, does pull from source material. It's later Joker source material that's more controversial, but it's source material. The idea that there's multiple Jokers or the Joker we knew isn't the Joker Batman fights or stuff like that. Joker 2, I don't know if Todd Phillips intended it or not. I heard he said he wanted the movie to be more of a Warner Brothers film instead of a DC one. So maybe he didn't intend it to pull from source material. But if I were to judge, I'd say this movie apparently pulls from later Joker source material, more modern Joker source material, asking the question, what is the Joker? You know,
Yeah. And I think it's more so. I would definitely agree with that. And I think it's more so the musical aspect that really threw everybody off. I think it's more so that than anything else. I don't think people were necessarily um big fans of the musical aspect of Folia Do, which is understandable. I would have thought that out of any other direction you could take or anybody else, I would have thought that a musical between Harley and Joker was fine, you know. But for this instance and what people wanted to see, which was, the usual, mad nut house Joker, um, it didn't do justice for me. They didn't give the fans what they wanted. But I can definitely understand. I haven't given an official rating to this film yet because it just left me with a sense of, well,
emptiness.
I mean, one could say that maybe emptiness or maybe just confusion because I initially thought, okay, well, if spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, if Arthur Fleck is the one that gets hit and then somebody else takes over, okay, cool. But I was kind of banking on because the origin story painted such a the first one painted such a grand picture of Joker and especially the ending, which is one of my favorites, the ending where where Arthur gives gives himself the smile. That one sort of that really sealed it for me. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is Joker, this is him. And so Folia do sort of folds in on that idea and sort of, I'm not gonna say it makes the previous one irrelevant, but if people were to think of this one as a true sequel to Joker, then that's exactly what it does. It just folds in on itself and
Yeah,
sort of contradicts everything that it established in the first one, and it sort of left me with the Last Jedi sort of feeling. So, you
really.
know, yeah, kind of
Mm.
controversial to me. To me, I found it controversial, and any film that does that, that's very controversial and does things that I kind of just like, okay, but then I'm just like, you know what? I don't know what to think about it. It just leaves me in the middle. I don't think it's necessarily all that good. I don't think it's necessarily all that bad. I just didn't think it was the right direction to take the film, to take the character.
It was a less commercially. It was not a commercial. Not a very good commercial direction. Like even though I like this film, I gotta admit it failed.
Bad. It is now statistically. it is the worst DC film on paper. Looking at it
Dang, on
from that perspective,
paper.
on paper,
Wow.
90% box office drop. I think it was the critics and the audience is not liking it. All that, whatever title that people gave Suicide Squad, whatever title people gave, uh, whatever other DC movie, Batman or whatever you want to name, whatever title that they wanted to give those bad DC films, Black Adam, Shazam, whatever, it belongs to Joker Folly to do now officially.
I'll agree with you. The ending was in the middle or it failed. I'm not even really a big fan of the ending personally. I like the movie up until the end, and when it comes to the music, I
Yeah,
heard that I've heard many people say if it's not tied to the story, it feels redundant, and I can agree. While the musical numbers were decent, they had nothing to do with the plot aside the internal emotions of the characters.
right.
Like all of these musical spoilers, all of these musical numbers are imaginary. So it's like they're all in the heads of Arthur and Lee. Not they're not actually happening in the story, and I think that hurt the musical numbers. People were already worried about musical numbers in this movie, but the
Yeah,
fact that these musical numbers don't take place in reality, they're in their heads. I think that
yeah,
really killed these musical numbers. But what I will say is that while I'm not the biggest fan of the ending, I understand the ending. Being a longtime Joker fan, being a longtime fan of the character, and I'll be honest,
I
the
get it too. Yeah.
idea. Oh, what did you say, Eric?
No, I was saying I get the ending too. I understood it.
Oh, you do, yeah. It's like the idea of multiple people being the Joker, one person inspiring someone else to continue the symbol, and it's like I get what they were going for, and it is true to the character, but it's a version. It's a version. It's an adaptation that's not iconic. It's controversial. So I'd say that probably it was probably would have been better if we just stuck with the direction of the first one, turned Arthur Fleck into the Joker. The ending of the first one was a transformation. Todd Phillips kind of retconned the ending of the first one when he said in an interview that Arthur wasn't what the city wanted him to be, which was like a revolutionary Joker type. So it's like it is a retcon technically, and the first one is the better movie, objectively.
Camera. Yeah, I definitely can see that. And it'll for now it will remain controversial. Uh much like how I think it was very reminiscent. I think if I would have went to see it in theaters, it would have gave me the same feeling of it would have given me the same feeling of The Last Jedi kind of. That's what it would have given me. Um Now, I think that when you get so invested in that part 1 arc, you do expect cuz there's not many examples where successful sequels go into vastly different directions than the first one outside of what's minor, I guess. Like if you wanted to look at Aliens or I mean Alien as it compares to Aliens, the only difference with that movie or with that sequel is the fact that they bring in the colonial marines and then there's more aliens. That's really the only difference. Other than that, it's still a alien movie following that first plot. Same thing with Terminator 2 as compared to Terminator 1. You want to talk about Empire Strikes Back as it compares to A New Hope. It's yeah, there are new elements introduced, but the storyline still remains and nothing is changing. So I think in that regard, the most successful sequels that we can all say follow the same story. Attack of the Clones as it relates to Phantom Menace, and then on top of those two, Revenge of the Sith. Same ordeal. Nothing really changes, uh, minus new elements to the story. But when you have something like you know a Force Awakens, which if you want to say established a brand new story in one direction, then the Last Jedi is definitely the folly of do that goes in a totally different way.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that because you know what? I can't even harp on that. I can't even harp on TFA and TLJ anymore. I can't, and it's not even because I'm mad. I'm
You've
just
got to
saying
your breaking point.
no. I'm just saying it because of what it was. I'm just saying because that's just what it was. You know?
Think about it. TFA was
No, I don't.
2015. TLJ was 2017. It's now 2024.
Don't lick my
How long has it been? And we still talk about them. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's crazy.
I told them I tell people all the time. I'm like they implicate. They're like, well, if uh just because you're still talking about it and that it's controversial doesn't mean that it was good. Well, that's gonna be subjective because if it wasn't, it would fade into irrelevance.
You know what that means? As much as I call them abominations and bad films, that means the sequels did not fail as movies. Because in film school, I learned
Yeah,
a movie doesn't fail when people love it or hate it. A movie fails when people forget about it, when it
when
becomes
people forget
forgettable.
about it.
Yeah, that's when.
Exactly.
And no matter how much I criticize or you criticize or anyone points out the flaws in those sequel trilogy movies,
Yeah.
people remember. It's been, I think, close to a decade. We still remember these movies, even though we don't like them. So, despite being failures to us, technically these movies succeeded in being remembered.
Yeah. I think that if you can raise enough questions, then people will be invested. I think The Force Awakens raised enough questions to keep us invested. I think TLJ was controversial and I don't see it being as discussed in the community today as it once was maybe a few months ago or maybe even last year. Maybe it's fading into irrelevance because the choices of that film uh negatively impacted any and all future hype and projects moving forward for Star Wars. And so I think that in that regard, maybe it started out as controversial because of what they did. But now I even think The Last Jedi is fading into irrelevance because now every single creative choice moving forward from the acolyte to whatever it is with the High Republic, all of it has not really hit the way that people wanted it to, and it's not looking good. So I think that in the same way of Folly Ado, the choices that were made with this film, of course, Todd Phillips announced that he's not doing another Joker, so there's not going to be a trilogy. I had high hopes. I thought that this was going to be the first trilogy that a villain ever had.
I
I
know,
really thought
right?
we were so close.
Yep.
We were so close. We were so close. We were this close to
Yeah.
greatness, and
No,
now
you're
we
right.
don't have it.
Yeah, no. That would have been crazy. Oh, a Joker trilogy.
A Joker trilogy, and we can't have
Oh, Eric, did you hear the news? This could just be them blaming him because they don't want to take the fall for it, but you heard that Todd Phillips took no notes from James Gunn. He ignored Warner Brothers completely, just went in his own direction with Joker 2 and just made the film, with his own volition. And due to the box office of the first one, Warner Brothers just let him do what he wanted. You heard
it.
about all that?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's in the media. It's in the press. Todd Phillips did what he wanted. He didn't want to make a second one to begin with. They gave them money. He made a movie, and that's why I can say, like, despite how controversial it is, it's an artistic piece, just like the first one. These are artistic movies. This is what the artist wanted, And that's why I say, despite how controversial Joker Folie Do is, it's the work of an artist, which I can respect. The director for the Eternals on the MCU, she wanted to end her movie with the Earth getting destroyed, but Kevin Feige and crew wouldn't allow that, and because
No,
obviously there'd be more
why wouldn't?
sequels. I'm just making the point that with these big companies, an artistic film by one single artist individual, it's rare. It's rare to.
Right.
I'm not even saying that it'll be good. It's just rare to find movies these days that aren't like commercially focused on and are more focused on the artist's vision. It's rare to find that now, you know, especially with these cinematic universes. And that's what Todd Phillips gave us, regardless of how bad Joker 2 is.
Yeah, I agree. Give me one quick second and let me take a little interlude right here. One quick second. I'll be right back.
Take your time, man.
And we are back. Sorry about that. Children and such and such. Back from
No, you're fine. It's cool.
interlude. But yeah, one day we can all dream about
Dream.
what could have been.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, one day. What is my Children. All right. Cool. Go ask Mama. Spider Man. I guess so. Okay. He wants to go watch Spider Man. I'm like, all right. Go watch Spider Man. But yeah, I wish that I really do wish that Joker Folia do would have turned out better. But it is what it is. Still there, Dan?
Eric, did you say anything?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I was so Todd really just ignored all the studio notes and just did whatever he wanted, huh?
Yeah, that's according to Warner Brothers and James. Well, I don't know if James Gunn said anything. That's according to Warner Brothers media reports. You don't have to
Todd.
believe them. You could think they're wrong or lying or whatever. Maybe they are, but according to them, he
I
went in
don't
his own direction.
I don't trust Warner Brothers with anything DC related.
Really, they've been doing DC for man.
It
it's a weird thing. It feels like they've always been doing DC, even though they
yeah.
haven't. It started in the late '80s or '70s.
Well, okay. At least DC cinematic universe related, because the Batman was a masterpiece. The Penguin is the best DC show ever made, and
Dude, that show is really good. I've been enjoying it too.
I've had a blast with that show. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. But you were
It's
saying?
absolutely phenomenal. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but when it comes to DC universe stuff, when it comes to an interconnected DC universe, because Marvel has set the standard on that for so long, I just don't think that DC has the capacity to get it right. Now, I will give James Gunn a chance. I think that James Gunn is a great director, and I think he's worthy of a shot. But DC's it's that movie is going to have to be phenomenal in order to earn people's trust back. Like, this film is going to have to be like
Amazing. Fantastic.
flawless, right? Because we haven't had a good Superman movie since Man of Steel.
DC's
Honestly,
biggest problem is that they take too long to make a final decision. They had plans for a cinematic universe since the '80s. Or before that. They had plans for a cinematic universe for a long time.
yeah,
But they come up with ideas, they scrap those ideas, and then years later, projects that were supposed to be completely different get turned into movies later down the line. So it's like
yeah,
when it comes to individualistic films that take place in their own worlds, DC's great with that, especially in animation. But when it comes to like a full-on interconnected universe or whatever, DC they they can never make a final decision. That the Batman, the film that we know we enjoyed, it was originally supposed to be a Batfleck movie, a movie with Ben Affleck's Batman fighting
yeah,
Slade, Deathstroke. But it's like
yeah,
they waited too long to make a final decision on that film production. So
yeah,
by the time they turned that project into what it was, they had to get a new cast. They had to set it in a new setting, and it just
yeah,
goes to show, they need to make final decisions. Another issue they have is that they have a really illogical rule that if a character is supposed to appear in a movie, they don't want them appearing in a show or a cartoon. No,
yeah.
no, not a cartoon, just a show.
Right.
And that limits what they're able to do in their movies and shows. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like I said, I mean, Warner Brothers can do great things when they want to, but when it comes to that interconnected universe, they just can't. And trust me, I spent a lot of time on the whole Snyderverse thing. I spent what
The
I,
DCEU Snyderverse.
yeah, I spent about a good from 2016 to 2022. I spent at least about a good 3 4 years uh fighting for that film, defending Zach and doing all that, and I don't regret a single second of it because in the end it resulted in getting what the studio should have dropped to begin with. Now, sure, Zach and Warner Brothers wasn't exactly on the best page. They weren't on the same page, but we see who ended up being right in the end because it wasn't like Zach was trying to take DC off in this, you know, uncomic book, you're talking about one of the most, you know, a keen students of the comics and one of the staple directors in the comic book movie genre, period, with films like 300 and Watchmen under his belt. Uh and then you finally see ZSJL, which spoke for itself. But I think that what happened has happened, and I think Zach is on to better. Zach is definitely on to better things. Twilight of the Gods, the Army of the Dead universe, the Rebel Moon universe,
I
and
didn't
no
give
one.
Twilight of the Gods a chance. Did you?
I did, and I've reviewed every episode of it minus the finale. It's
How do you feel about it?
Everyone loves it. I love it. I
Everyone
love
looked.
it. I
When I
love it.
saw the trailer, I was like, "This is gonna suck. I'm not even gonna." But no, I've been hearing positive things about Twilight of the Gods. A lot of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Now I will warn you, it's not. It is. This is the most Snyder-est that Snyder has ever been. This is the most Snyder that Snyder has ever been. Norse
Wow.
mythology to the full. I'm talking about raw, uncut, everything. Like this is one of the rawest animated shows you will ever watch, and it was awesome. I love Twilight of the Gods. I can't wait for season two. It's everything that you thought it would be and more. So I would definitely give it a shot. Definitely give Twilight of the Gods a shot.
All right, definitely. Thanks. I'll check it out.
Yeah, and that we just did is what a lot of. I'm not saying everything because I know a lot of people in the Snyder community, and I know a lot of great fans who are the voice and the face of that community and the true fans and what they really do for 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 Zach and for his work. So I'm not saying this to them, but to those toxic fans that just spend all their time. They spend more time bashing Warner Brothers than they actually do supporting, Zach and anything that he does. I'm like, why aren't we on here? Why aren't you guys using your platform to talk about Twilight of the Gods? Why aren't we talking about Army of the Dead or, anything else? Why are we wasting time, talking about what they're doing? So, for me, it's just like, what's the point? What's up, Rich?
Hey,
Richie.
Richie Rich.
What up? What up? He says, yo, Night Lucas Snyder is definitely controversial, but he's made some good stuff. Oh, yeah.
See, Watchmen made Moore's universe more. Yeah, the what I'll die on this hill. Snyder's version of Watchmen's ending is better than the graphic novel's version. Heck, I prefer the movie over the book, if I'm being honest. And I like
I think
both,
I
but
think a lot of
yeah,
us do. I think a lot of us do.
yeah. You
Yeah, I
know,
think
uh, Jay. Did you see the Rebel Moon director's cut? The first
I
one.
did, and I watched both of them
Is it better? Do you think it's better than the theatrical cut?
100% better. 100%. That now, now we can talk about whether this harms movie making or not because I think that Zach started that trend when the Snyder Cut dropped, and that now there's a Snyder Cut for almost everything in pop culture. So I
Oh
think
no,
that
director's cuts are normal. He had a
they
director's cut for
they
BVS.
they were, but those
Yeah.
those were more guaranteed. Those
Yeah,
director's cuts were guaranteed. There wasn't a struggle to get those director's cuts. Like, oh, okay, you can just put those out on DVD, and that was fine. But now that things are different with streaming, and the game has changed with what kind of movies are successful and which ones are not. Studios are, these test runs. Studios are trying to, hey, let's cut this out. Let's do this and get it right this time. But there's a lot more tension between directors and studios, and films that are more films that want to do a different vision that they know won't guarantee them like a billion at the box office. Those are the ones that they want to fight about.
yeah,
And so Zach was one of those guys that had a different vision, and this vision was going to be different from what the MCU wanted to do was doing. And Warner Brothers was like, "No, we need the MCU for the DC universe." And Zach was like, "That's not going to work." And so that led to infighting. They weren't on the same page. BVS director's cut shows that, but it really started when people found out how dirty Warner Brothers was treating Zack behind the scenes when it came to Justice League. And then I felt totally betrayed when I thought, "Oh yeah, I totally trust Joss Whedon to come in and help finish up this film while Zack, goes and handles his family tragedy. R.I.P. Autumn. We'll always love Autumn forever." Um, so I went into it like, okay, yeah, Joss did the Avengers. That was an iconic film, and I love
yep.
how great that was. And then all of a sudden, you just watch the Justice League cut, and then you're just like totally stabbed in the chest. Like I walked out just like empty. Like
It
I was
was
like,
mid for me. I like here's the thing about that movie, the Whedon cut. I wanted to like it. There were good moments, there were bad moments, but it felt like something was missing. It feels like an
missing.
incomplete movie. The Zack Snyder cut feels like a complete film. It's a better film. Just
Yeah,
everything about that film is better than the Whedon cut.
yeah. Richard says, "Does anyone know why they're not letting directors put their cut out?" Well, that is because studios want to bank on films that are going to make money because all the money that they put into those films, you got to get a return back.
Do
And
you know how much money these studios would make if they allowed directors to have their own cut? Or like they could be like, "Oh, you think this film sucked? Well, here's another version. Maybe you'll like that one." Like that would be so smarter.
yeah, I bet director's cuts are a monetary difference to the studio. Follow the money. Yeah, definitely. Because once stuff starts coming out on DVD, ooh, back then that was how they really made the money. You had the box office, and then once the DVD sold, if the movie was really good, the studio really started making a lot of money. But now it's different with streaming, and people don't not valuing physical media as much. So now they feel like we got to get it all in this one theatrical run instead of letting the film have some legs and then putting it out on DVD. I'm seeing more films that are actually quite decent go to DVD quicker than a mug, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
terrible. It's terrible. Um, that was weird. Some films, some franchises are a guarantee. Like Star Wars. Star Wars is a guarantee because that franchise is so profitable. So they really just do whatever they want. Oh, Ryan Johnson, you want to do this? Okay, fine, cool, do it. Last Jedi still made what, a billion at the box office. Still made a billion at the box office, and it felt like it didn't make a lick of difference. But creatively, it robbed Star Wars of their ability to do anything else moving forward. You know, and
Yeah.
that's where we're living at right now because of choices that were made. And you can't do a director's cut of Star Wars. There is no director's cut. There's Lucas's original 6, and then there's the special editions, which are great. I love the special editions. I don't think that they necessarily,
The
it is
special editions are basically Lucas's director's cut. He just doesn't call it that.
yeah, he just
It's
doesn't call it that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Lucas. First, there's cuts upon cuts upon cuts. Lucas has done I don't know how many edits to these movies. He's done them like his last one was the McClunky line in the cantina with Greedo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Last Jedi and Captain Marvel definitely ruined Goodwill.
Among the
Yeah,
family,
those
I
movies.
I thought the first Captain Marvel was actually pretty decent. I didn't
You
think it was
really?
that bad. I didn't think it was that bad. Now, look, I don't know Brie Larson personally, and
I
I
don't
don't,
think I don't think any of us do.
know. But I mean, if what they said is true about her behavior and how she treats people, then okay, that's one thing. But uh, even the Marvels, I didn't get the hate about the Marvels. Why did people hate the Marvels so much? I thought the Marvels was pretty darn enjoyable.
Oh, you enjoyed the Marvels? I thought
I
it was
I did.
okay,
I
just
did.
okay.
But but
I yeah. You go ahead.
I do know that a lot of the hate for Captain Marvel stems from how insufferable they've made her in the comics, and I haven't even got to read any of those. But
Oh, they make her more insufferable in the
in the
first
com,
movie.
yeah,
Like, look, Captain Marvel, the first one. My issue is that they did not give Carol her arc. Essentially, was basically embracing herself. That was her arc. Just not don't let people control you. Just be free. And it's like normally that could be cool, but it's like she didn't grow personally. She didn't have any personal flaws. All she did was realize the side she was fighting for was bad, and she should fight them instead. And then she
yeah,
activates her powers and beats everyone.
yeah, pretty
It's
wild.
girl boss. That's what it is.
Girl
Oh,
boss,
he's
yeah.
telling you. Richard's telling you to go watch the Marvels again.
He said, "Go watch it
Hey,
again."
look, man. Objectively, it's a bad movie. But like personally, I just think it's okay. It's just okay. Mid.
I think that Captain Marvel, because by the time we were getting to Avengers Infinity War and then Endgame respectively, I think once we got that era, the momentum was so big that no matter what Marvel did, people were gonna go see it. So we did. I think isn't that the order it went in? I think Captain Marvel came after. Captain Marvel came after Infinity War, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it did. It was sandwiched between Infinity War and Endgame. People say
Yeah,
that's the reason why it made so much money because Infinity War was a hit, and
yeah,
people were gonna give Captain Marvel success no matter what because they loved Infinity War.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It just seemed like I remember going into Black Panther and coming out of Black Panther, I'd never felt so much momentum going into another Marvel movie. It was like no matter what they dropped, straight fire. It was gonna go. Richard Reeves says, "Do you friends? I just didn't care for it. If I were with you, I'd list the reasons why. Y'all are very kind."
we need to
Well,
have him on one day.
yeah, man, I was supposed to have him on one of these episodes.
Dang.
I got you on the next one. You're coming on, Richard. If you're not working or anything, you're coming on the next episode. Guarantee it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, if I don't know, man, because they now like ever since that talk that we had about about Star Wars, I just feel like I thought that there was supposed to be more love and respect for the OGs. Like you can bring new stories to the newer generation. I do, and I want that, but you can't bring those stories to the new generation without giving homage to people who have grown up on it. And I think that's where I'm at with Star Wars now. We've seen Star Wars change so radically over the past 10 years, and it's gone from doing new stories to just outright changing things so fast that the people who grew up on it don't even recognize it anymore, and there's no bridging of the gap. I mean, except for Clone Rebels, even I would put Ahsoka in there. Other than that, there's not much with Star Wars right now that is there to sort of reconcile the older fans,
Yeah.
especially with the sequel trilogy. And I don't think as many fans would be harping on it. I don't think as many Star Wars fans would have moved on like they have from Star Wars had there would have been a little bit more care taken into account when it comes to passing the torch. I think that so many people would have been satisfied had a few things differently happen with the sequels, and we'd all be still so invested in Star Wars. But those choices matter. I think had things been different with the acolyte, or so many choices. It's about choices every day, and you see so many great franchises succeeding. Like I see Dune. I like Dune right now is exactly what Star Wars should be. Not oversaturated, as far because how many stories that do we have from Star Wars and TV show? So many different directions that, Disney's going in, but losing sight of the main vision overall. But Dune, I went to go see Dune Part 2 in theaters twice. And when I tell you that is what sci-fi is, that's what sci-fi is. And I'm like, I'm blown away. And now they have their first TV show coming out, Dune Prophecy, which is a prequel set in the movie timeline as well. And I'm like, bro,
About the Benny Gesserit, right?
yeah, about the Bene Gesserit. Not too much, not too oversaturated. You still have a mainline story plot and sticking close to what it is, keeping it small so that it can be big. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh,
and
it's gonna get oversaturated, my friend. They got a video game, which, if I remember, takes place in an alternate timeline. They have the show and they have the movie.
well,
That's
that's
the name of the
well,
game.
well, that's fine. But
Yeah.
you look at that compared to Star Wars, which has like maybe 6 or 7 different shows and counting, and then you got a whole different era of the High Republic that's doing all sorts of stuff that everyone can't keep up with, and
Let's be
then you
honest,
got
no one's into the High Republic. Like, I used to
no
think there
one.
was a small fan base for it, but like the
Yeah,
amount of people that are into it, it feels like they're like, I
yeah,
don't know, like a few people maybe. I've met a
yeah.
few people that like it. Most people say they don't read those books.
I mean, I stopped after trying to get into the first one. I bought the first 2 installments of the trilogy when it first came out. They've been sitting on my but that was strictly because there's too many hands in the pie. You feel what I'm saying? There's too many hands in the pie. When
I
when it
tried
comes
to give High Republic a shot, but I think it was the first comic, Jay. The very first, because it didn't start with books, it started with comics.
it
The
started with
very
comics.
first High Republic comic, a Jedi Padawan, she was getting training, so she was doing training, and the Jedi Order had her train in an environment with miniature cities and miniature people. And during her force training, a lot of those like mini people, those mini bug like life forms, there it was like a genocide. Their environment was getting destroyed. They were dying, and she was training in the middle of it, and it was causing all of it. And the Jedi knew. The
Yeah,
Jedi knew that they were that this training course they had for her was causing all this destruction for these life forms. And I was like, I don't see the Jedi doing this. I don't see the Jedi putting lives in danger to train a student. Like, this just doesn't
it doesn't.
make sense.
Yeah,
Then I read a few of the books and I had a hard time. There's some interesting ideas, but overall it was faulty. And I think what really kicked me out of it was the sentient rock. I look, I'm the kind of fan that's open to all sorts of ideas in Star Wars, but the sentient rock, I think, is what really just told me to say stop. A rock that
yeah.
can talk. Just
That's
no.
what that's what Richard just said. The video that sunk the High Republic was the commercial they did on YouTube, where they advertised the ship called the Vessel and the navigator that was a rock.
Yeah, man. A rock that could talk and speak. I was like, yeah. Okay, look, if The Rock could transform or something or turn into things, that'd be cooler, but it's just a damn rock that's
Lord have
alive.
mercy. Lord have mercy.
I can't, man. I can't.
That was a real thing, huh?
Yeah, like you guys are bored.
It was.
You guys, no imagination. You just have like a literal giant stone on a ship and talk.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that when they said that. I really couldn't believe that
They
because
couldn't give it arms or legs. They couldn't make it look more human. No. Yeah, exactly.
a
Look
rock,
at it. Just rock.
it was a rock.
You know
That
what's
was
interesting about the High Republic, Jay? They had a whole order of users that believed that using the Force was a was disrespecting the Force, and they believed in not using the Force, and they were against the Jedi because they believed the Force deserved more respect not to use it at all. That was
yeah,
an interesting idea the High Republic had. That one of the
yeah.
few interesting ideas.
I mean that sort of mirrors, I think, to me that exact same that sort of lesson that I think Luke wanted to teach Ray about the being in the middle ground, basically. And I would have respected that. I really would have respected that for a little bit. Like, okay, you don't want to involve your the new Jedi Order that you've built, or you just don't want to involve yourself because you made a mistake. I get that, but at some point, the Force is all about good and evil. That is the story of Star Wars. It's a story of good and evil. And when you try to put it in the middle, like I think Luke did going into The Last Jedi, I think that's where you make a huge mistake. You know, when you try to pit that middle ground and it's not necessarily good versus evil. That's where, that's where the mistakes get made at. But I mean, the High Republic, like even the Acolyte, I think the Acolyte had some pretty interesting ideas. The Acolyte had some pretty interesting ideas and some things that they executed well, like the lightsaber dueling and things like that. I think there was a lot that they executed well. But story wise, that's where it all pretty much falls apart. That's where it all pretty much falls apart. And
What killed the Last Jedi, I think, the most was the nihilism. And the thing is, nihilism, the philosophy, I find it to be a fascinating one. It was done well in The Dark Knight. It was done well in Joker One. The nihilism of nothing mattering. But it's like in those movies, there was a debate. There was a challenge. In The Last Jedi, both Yoda and Kylo Ren have the same message. Move on from the past. Yoda tells Luke, "We are what they grow beyond," and Kylo Ren just tells Rey, "Let the past die." That's the message of the Last Jedi: to move on from the past, focus on the future. And it's like none of that mattered, doesn't matter. And it's like, okay, well,
yeah,
if as a fan, if I'm not supposed to care about the past and I just have to believe trust in Ray because she can do it, she's amazing, she's the best. She'll
yeah,
know what to do. That's what Yoda tells Jake. She has the books or she has the knowledge that she needs. Everything's fine. She'll fix
yeah,
it. It's like, all right, why do I care? Why do I have to care about this or the setting or the characters or the stakes? Ray can fix it. She knows what to do.
yeah. Ray's got it. You know
Yeah,
what? Don't even worry about it. I'm all good.
none
I
of
don't
it
even gotta
matters
worry about
anyway.
none of it. It's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. And I agree with that because I'm like, well, what about legacy? What about what about all these different ideas that we had? Now I'm not. Of course, I can't play the sound. I don't want to get copyrighted, but I mean, in this moment, there was a beauty to that throne room scene. Of course, there was such a beauty to it, but at the same time, it comes at the expense of common sense. Okay, well, where do we go from here? Who is the new order? What is this new evil that's coming? And then now you have Kylo just coming out of nowhere saying, you know what? Let it all die. Forget about it. We don't really care. Forget about the legacy of the Jedi. Forget about the legacy of the Sith. Forget about all of that. And let's do what we want to do. And I'm like, what? It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense.
You know, it would work if you had a counter argument that no, the past does matter. The legacy of the Jedi, the Sith, all of that matters. We shouldn't just like let it go and forget about it and just not care about it. Like it matters and it does impact the future. Instead of having Yoda say we are what they grow beyond, Yoda should probably have more of a message like that. You know?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. But and what you do in the future, you know, it matters greatly. Much like this scene, that we talked about earlier. You know, when much like this
Oh
scene,
yeah,
this is I mean, this is straight cinema. It's one of my favorite scenes,
yeah,
and it's the one that says, you know what, this is what it is. This is who I am. I'm not changing it. And it set up so much too. You even have the Waynes getting killed, and that's due to Joker, which is fine, even if it's not Joe Chill, even if it's not anybody like that. That's a perfectly, that's an acceptable origin, for Bruce Wayne. That's Bruce Wayne right there.
yeah,
So what excuse did they have to go in the direction that they went and follow you do when you have your Joker, you know, right here, and he's reflecting and doing all this, and he sees that, and this was it for me. This was it for me when he recognizes that he's not alone. I'm not justifying Joker as a villain, but from this Joaquin perspective, I can understand, you know what I'm saying, what he's going for, because he was alone the entire film. He didn't really have anybody. But then he recognizes all of a sudden that, hey, I'm not the only one who's been downtrodden. I'm not the only one who's mistreated. You know, I'm actually, not alone. There are other people that are like me, and I represent those people as the Joker. And that is what that scene means. But Folia Do, much like TLJ did to Force Awakens, tramples all over this scene, and this scene is iconic. That's one of the most, like, he's crying. He's bloody crying in the scene. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
it's very touching, and I'm like, I don't think, like, how do you go from such a high right there to just what you did with Folly Do? I'll never understand it. I'll never get it.
Yeah, the first
I'll
one's
never
definitely better, and this moment's perfection.
perfection.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand what Foley was going for, but I would have preferred Arthur Fleck to be the one and only Joker.
The one and only, right?
Yeah,
The one and only. I would have
yeah.
preferred that as well.
I mean, look, the three Joker storyline or multiple people being the Joker. When I was younger, those stories, I wasn't the biggest fan of because I preferred one Joker, but I grew to like them over
Yeah,
time. I grew to enjoy them, the complexity of it. But
yeah,
it's like still just having one Joker.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I still think it's better. Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to, I could just I could tell the fans who are mad about it to, like, keep keep it in your pants, because we have we have, first of all, we got a whole nother Batman coming, because James Gunn hasn't even announced his DCU Batman yet. And with that
Mm-hmm.
Batman comes another Joker. And then we have Reeves versus Batman too. So we have another opportunity for another Joker. So this even if Joaquin's didn't really pan out in the end, we still have two new Jokers coming in the future.
I'm
So
a
I
bit
think,
on edge about James Gunn's direction for Batman.
yeah,
I think he wants to take it more in a Silver Age comedic direction because apparently he wasn't the biggest fan of The Dark Knight or Batman '89, and he apparently apparently he prefers a sillier Batman to a gritty one. So while I do have faith in James Gunn for DC, I'm a bit on edge about his Batman. Hopefully this comedic direction is good. I
I
hope
hope
it is.
I hope that that is not I hope that that's not true. I don't know a comic book director working right now from Snyder to Nolan to anybody on Marvel's side who is not a fan of The Dark Knight. And what do we mean funny Batman? There is no more. I mean, Batman has some funny moments, but gritty Batman is how Batman is supposed to be done all the time. There's no going back to Batman and Robin. You know, the Schumacher day. There's no going back. What do you talk like? I swear to God, if James Gunn takes us back to the Schumacher days,
I don't know. I don't know if it'd be Schumacher, but you know, Batman the Brave and the Bold, where Batman can do all sorts of wacky, fantastical things. He could fight crime in space and have all sorts of gadgets that are sci-fi based.
oh
And he
yeah, even
fights.
when he was fighting all across the universe and like he's a universal menace known across the universe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's like Silver Age Batman, and that's probably the direction James is going in. I could be wrong, but
I wouldn't mind that, but he's got to keep it more grittier than anything. He still got to keep it real.
I'm just tired of grounded Batman, if I'm being honest. I mean, like, I feel like it's been done to death. And I'm not saying don't do it again, but like, I would like to see some more fantastical Batman. Like like in the Flash movie, when I saw
Yeah,
Batman literally fighting alongside Flash and Supergirl,
that
and
was
fighting
horrible.
Kryptonians. I was ecstatic. I'm like,
Oh, you mean Keaton Batman? Oh, okay, yeah,
yeah, Keaton Batman.
that was pretty okay, but that Affleck Batman was god awful.
Affleck Batman. You're not a big fan of Ben Affleck Batman?
No, no, no. I'm a huge fan. He's one of my favorite Batman from from BVS to ZSJL. I mean, like what they did to him in Justice League, and then what they continue to do to him in the Flash. Like
Oh
he looked
yeah, Joss
ridiculous.
Whedon. That
Even
was
yeah.
that was yeah,
How do
because
you?
like in comics and the cartoons, Batman could fight parademons hand to hand, but in that movie, he's just relying on guns over and over again, just guns.
Wait, which movie?
Justice League,
Oh yeah,
like he's just constantly using guns and mechs, and I'm like, you know, Batman was more physically capable and agile than this.
yeah. I mean, you don't go from you know what I'm saying. Like we had it all with Ben Affleck's Batman. I know he was jaded. I know he was. You know what I'm saying? I get that, but we literally had it all. We had it all with him. Like we had Alfred using the. See, this is what gets on my nerves when people are like, you know, oh well, you know, Ben Affleck's Batman is the most terrible. How? Because he had a little down arc, but he never stopped being Batman. Dude's still hopping through windows. Like, bro, what are we even talking about here? We had it all with this Batman. From gadgets. Look at what he's doing.
Yeah, this is more comic booky.
Like
I
this
mean,
is
minus the well, yeah, the that and the that,
yeah,
but yeah,
he
it's
uses their own weapons against them. Yeah. That's Batman. Batman like this whole no kill rule. Look, the way Batman has been doing criminals in the comics and all that and the way he fights, he might as well have killed them. You know what I'm saying? Oh, this dude like Batman paralyzed him.
I will say even for no kill rule, Bill Finger Batman, the Batman with a no kill rule, he's
Yeah,
still when he fought crime, people still got hurt or killed because criminals were shooting guns and Batman was jumping around and other people were getting hit in the middle of the crossfire. So it's like even
exactly.
though even though Batman has a no kill rule in the main continuity, that doesn't mean people didn't get hurt or die in the middle of his
People
crime fighting.
I'm reading the new 52 and more people are dying on Batman's watch before he even gets the case started.
Yeah, that's because New 52 wanted to make the characters grittier and darker than they were. I'm
And
not DC's always been gritty and dark, but New 52 overdoes it, man.
I mean, yeah, like I mean, the Court of Owls is just slaughtering people. Joker slaughtering people. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro,
I
this
love
is
the
like
Court of Owls.
I love Court of Owls too. I love it. You know what I really loved? I loved Azrael as Batman too. When I read the Nightfall storyline and beyond, I love how
Azrael,
I
man.
l- I
No
love how
fucking mercy.
no mercy. I loved how he didn't kill. He slowed it down a bit, but he was just as brutal, just about as brutal as any other Batman could get. And now this, I'm hearing about Absolute Batman. And for the record, I hear that it's great, and I can't wait to read it. But they're saying the things that I'm hearing and the sneak peeks I'm seeing of what Absolute Batman is doing to people. I don't want to ever hear about anyone. I don't ever want to hear anyone complain about
Jay,
about
Absolute Batman. I have one word: cool. Absolute Batman is cool. He's a cool Batman, like really cool.
he's
Batman's
cool.
normally cool, but he's really cool.
He's cool because like
Yeah,
this, I hear he's carrying around an axe and everything and stuff like that.
yeah.
Like I hear Absolute Batman is out here messing people up. I can't wait to read it. I can't wait. Like the design.
Even Nolan versus Christian Bale Batman, he had a no kill rule, obviously, but he also had indirect kills. And what I mean is that he's not directly trying to kill criminals, but criminals are dying in the middle of his fighting. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's complex.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that. Speaking of that. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that. Anytime people just want to debate me, you know, anytime people just want to harp on who's Batman killed, you know what I'm saying? We can go to the kill count, if you want to. We
The
can
kill
take it
count
there.
videos.
Yeah, we can take it there. Because they're
Yeah.
like, look at this. They're blasting his car. He
And he
drops
just
that.
drops a bomb. Yeah.
And he killed those people. He didn't arrest those bad guys so that they could go, be rehabilitated or helped like y'all think he does all the time. Your most iconic Batman and a lot of y'all's favorite, who y'all put over Ben Affleck, killed people.
Hey, I told you the Bill Finger Bob Kane story, Eric, about how Bill Finger preferred a Batman with a no kill rule and Bob Kane preferred a Batman with a kill rule. Guess
Yeah,
who was around Tim Burton for Batman '89 script?
who was that?
Bob Kane. Bob Kane was there. He shook
That's
hands with Tim Burton, and it would not surprise me because Bob Kane hated when DC and Bill Finger went along with a no kill rule Batman. He preferred a masked Avenger. So it would
yeah,
not surprise me if he sat around Tim Burton and told him Batman must kill. That's the
yeah,
only way Batman killing in '89 makes sense to me
yeah,
because he oversaw the script. So it's like if it's like he wanted some Batman that kills, and I'm pretty sure Tim Burton listened to him and had Batman kill in that movie.
yeah. And it worked out fine because Keaton is still one of the most iconic Batman of all time. He was the Batman.
Yeah, he's. I respect Michael Keaton. He's the Batman. My favorite will always be Christian Bale, but he is the Batman.
He's the Batman.
Yeah.
He's the Batman. Uh, it's 8:19 at the hour, 8:20 at the hour, and Richard says, seriously, you think that's the reason why? Hold that thought. Hold that thought, because I'm gonna invite you to the next podcast, and we're gonna debate it. We're all gonna debate it.
I'm mid. I'm in the middle, man. I prefer Batman that don't kill, but I'm not. I have no issue with Batman that kill. I always love exploring. What if? What if Batman was a killer? That is an interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I'm in the middle. I'll be in between you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely hash it up on this next one. But thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to Knight Lucas. Shout out to everyone on X. Shout out to everyone on Twitch, YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you guys on this next podcast. This podcast will be available wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, iTunes, whatever the case it is, YouTube especially. So I will catch you guys later, and you guys have a blessed evening.
All right, later,
Peace.
everybody.
See you guys.